All right, so now we know from looking at our example layout here, this is the first spread, second spread. Starting with the third spread, the structure changes. Also, so does the typography, but it's also the structure changes. So that to me means we need another set of master pages. Because if I look at this third spread and then flip to the fourth spread, it's a different structure. So I'm going to flip one back, so I'm looking at that one. And in InDesign, if you collapsed your Pages panel so that you could see everything, pop it open. And then in the Pages panel, in any panel, in any Adobe app, this little hamburger menu would be the Panel Options menu. So click that to open it, and choose this command that says New Master. And by default, the prefix will be the next letter in the alphabet. So we only have A master, so it's going to give us a B master. And because we have facing pages selected, it's going to put 2 pages in the B master. And then, so we don't have to make any changes. And so if you're sure that you see all this stuff, then click OK. And it created the BMaster set of pages, and it went to it. And we can tell because there's all that stuff on A master, and B master is blank. So if I go back to our assignment instructions, I can see that in step 3 it says we need to change the margins. So when you first set up an InDesign document, you can put in margins and columns and all that stuff when you first create a document. But after the document is created, you go to a different spot to change margins and columns. So now that we're confirmed that you are on the BMaster spread by looking at your Pages panel, and then go to the Layout menu, Layout, Margins and Columns, and you will see something that looks like this. And our instruction sheet tells us that the top margin, make sure that this link thing's deactivated because we want different values for those 4 fields. So for top, we want 6P0. For bottom, we can leave it at 5P0 if that's what yours says. For inside and outside, we're going to leave them at 2P and 4P0 respectively. But for number of columns, our instructions tell us 4, so increase that from 3 to 4. And because preview is selected, we saw that happen. And the gutter is a little bit more generous than on A master. It's 1P3. So 1, 2, 3. We good? Okay, and then we can click OK. And now let's go look at our example spread and see what we need to add to the master pages. So I can see, well, I just know that this type up here, there's type like that on both spreads, on the third spread and the fourth spread. It says different things, but we'll deal with that in a moment. That repeats. These horizontal lines repeat. The page number where it says Design Quarterly, Fall 2017, the website and page number, all that stuff repeats. So that's what we're going to put on our BMaster. So we come over here to InDesign, and I'm going to get my zoom tool, and I'm going to zoom into the lower left corner of the BMaster spread, and I don't know, for some reason I want to start with the typography. So I'm going to get my type tool, and I'm going to draw a text box about, doesn't need to be that big, but about that big. And I'm not going to type in the number 6. I'm going to go up to the type menu, insert special character, markers, current page number. And then let go. And it's not an A, it's a B because we're on the B master. And then I just happen to know that the typeface, so select that page number and change the typeface to Helvetica New Medium Condensed. So it's number 67 in our list. Helvetica New Medium Condensed. 67, Helvetica New LT Standard 67, which is medium condensed. And then I just happen to know that the size is 20 points. So let's see if I have that in my drop down. I don't. I have 18, so I'm going to choose 18 for my drop down and then just click, just increase it 2 more times so it's 20 points in size. And we're just going to get these just loosely placed in there. And when you're working on your own, you can look at the reference layout and fine tune it. I'm going to switch to my type tool because I know that we eventually want to draw a horizontal line or rule right here. And just because, I mean, we don't have to make the text box narrower, but I just like things to be nice and tidy. So I'm going to make my text box only as big as it needs to be to hold that page number. And then I'm going to switch to the line tool, which is right below the type tool. And I'm going to click to the up and to the right of that page number. I'm going to click and start dragging down and then hold the shift key to constrain movement. And when the center dot of the line is lined up with the center, the vertical center of the B, of the page number, let go. And I'm not sure how thick it is, but I'm going to guess that it's not the default value of 1 point. So for now, I'm going to make it, I'm going to use the drop-down menu under thickness and change it to 0.5 point, but you can look at the reference layout to double check. But we're going to go with 0.5 point for now. I am going to get my type tool again and then draw another text box so we can put the name of the magazine. And I'm just going to eyeball it and make it like maybe that big. I am going to hit caps lock and I'm going to type Design Quarterly. We good? We all here? I'm going to Command A to select all that type, and we get to use a different typeface other than Helvetica New LT Standard. We're going to use Garamond Premier Pro. So I'm going to click up where it says font, or in the font where I can choose the font. Click here and just start typing Garamond space PRE. So now I'm filtering it to Garamond Premier Pro. Before I put in that PRE, see how there's other versions of Garamond? We want to use the one we installed, Garamond Premier Pro Bold. So once you found that, click that. Garamond Premier Pro Bold. And I just happen to know that the size isn't 12, it's 7.5 points. So I'm just going to select 12 and type 7.5. And then hit return to accept. And we can just stay with the default letting. I also happen to notice, switching back to our example layout here, if I zoom way in, I can see that the space in between the letters is a little bit looser than the default spacing that you would get in InDesign. So that, when you adjust the spacing overall, It's tracking, not to be confused with kerning. So up in your control panel, this is tracking, which we're not going to use right now. This is kerning, which we're not going to use. This is tracking. And I just happen to know it's a tracking value of 50. There's all different reasons to use tracking. I'm just using it for just a visual effect. And you may have also noticed from our example layout that the page number, design quarterly, and the rest of the type that appears here is vertically centered with each other. So the tracking, if you have some type selected, then it's right next. So here's point size and leading, these buttons, it's right here. So the drop-down menu, and then 50. If your control panel doesn't look anything like mine, it might be because you're on paragraph attributes instead of character. That's the one time with the type tool selected, the control panel, it actually has two sets of commands. With all the other tools, you don't get that. But with the type tool, you can flip between those two. Okay, so I'm going to fix the positioning of this text box by getting my selection tool. And if your text box isn't selected, just click it once to select it. And instead of dragging it with my mouse, I'm going to use the down cursor key to nudge it. So nudge it down until it looks like it's vertically centered with the B, which is the page number. Okay, what else goes in that box? I'm going to double click to go back in that box, and I could be precise and use tabs, but I'm not. I'm going to just hit the space bar, I don't know, 1, 2, 3, 4, I don't know, 8, 9, 10 times, and I'm going to type, with caps lock on, I'm going to type winter space 2017. Then I'm going to hit the escape key to get out of the box and switch to the selection tool. And I want another vertical line in between Design Quarterly and Winter 2017. So I'm going to select that first vertical line that we drew. I'm going to hold down the Option key and start dragging that line to the right, which makes a copy. And I'm going to use the green Smart Guides to help me keep it from moving up and down, because I just want to copy it to the right, and then when it's in the right spot, let go. And then I'm going to click on the pasteboard to deselect. Did that work? So you probably noticed this dashed line around all your text frames, and then we're seeing our margin and gutter and columns. But I want to make sure everything is lined up, and I want all those visual indicators and guides to temporarily go away. So something I do from time to time is I switch viewing modes. At the very bottom of your tool panel, if you click and hold, you can see the viewing mode that is currently active, which is normal, and you can see all the other viewing modes. So click and hold, and then hover over preview with your mouse and let go. And you'll switch into preview mode. So all of those things that actually wouldn't print out are hidden, and you can really look and see what this would look like. It's a little closer to what it would look like printed out. And I can see that vertically, things aren't quite centered. So the type in mine, the type is centered, but these vertical lines are actually a little too low. So I'm going to click on this one to select it. I'm going to shift click this one to select it. And then I'm going to use my cursor key to move it up, two taps on the up key. And that's just what I needed to do because of where I ended up drawing things. So yours might be fine, yours might have been too high and you need to move them down, but if you need to adjust them, that's one way to adjust them. I'm going to click to deselect everything, and then I notice that this vertical line isn't centered in between the page number and this type, so I'm going to click to select just this one and use the left key to nudge mine over. There, that looks a little bit better. Now, I could fuss with it for days. I see that this spacing here between this vertical line and the word design isn't quite as much as this. But for now, I'm just going to leave it. You can fine tune that on your own after this demonstration is over. That work? We're here? Then, if you want to switch back to the normal mode, click and hold on the viewing mode menu again and select normal. And all your guides and your frame edges all come back. Okay, looking at our example layout, I can see that we need a horizontal line. Okay, so now on my page, I think I drew all this stuff a little bit too high on the page, so I'm going to use my selection tool to select all of it, and then I'm just going to use the cursor key, which you can hold down because it repeats, and scoot it down to about there. And then I need to zoom out a little bit. The keyboard shortcuts for zoom are Command minus and Command, that's zoom out, and Command equal is zoom in. I'm going to zoom out till I can see most of my left page here. I'm going to get my line tool, and I'm going to start above that page number and click and start dragging to the right, and hold down the shift key to constrain movement. And when I get to that margin guide, let go. And I think that rule, yeah, it's the default weight of 1 point will work. So once we've got that drawn, let's get our selection tool and drag over all of that stuff to select it, because it's very similar on, yeah, we will. And then over any of the objects that are selected, like don't click in between the objects that are selected, but you can hover over any of the things you have selected, hold down the Option key, and start dragging to the right, and either use the Shift key to constrain movement or use the Smart Guides to help you line stuff up, and drag it all till it's aligned with that margin guide. Oh, come on, mouse. My mouse is goofing up. Until it's aligned with that margin guide, and then let go. Okay, now I need to scroll over so I can see my right side, and we obviously have to make some adjustments. So I'm going to click on my pasteboard to deselect everything and kind of take a look at what I got. I'm going to go to our example layout and see that, okay, so over on the right side, we have, it just says dq.com, a vertical line, and the page number. So let's make those changes. I'm going to get my selection tool, and I'm going to delete this line right here. And then I'm going to double click to go into this text box. I'm going to Command A to select all of it, and make sure caps lock is not on, and type dqmagazine.com, like that. And then now what should we do? Okay, so hit the escape key to get out of that box and select it, and now you have your selection tool. and I'm going to change the width of the box because it doesn't need to be nearly that big. And I'm going to use, don't click on that orange thing right there because that's to edit the corners. I'm going to click on this handle and drag to the right till it's right about there. So the reason why I didn't have you draw a new text box, type in dqmagazine.com and select the font blah 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 is because it's the same font, same size, same weight, same tracking as what's on the left side. So that's why we did what we did. And make sure you have your selection tool. Move this vertical line to the right of DQ Magazine to about right there. And then this page number, move that to the right of that line. And ooh, my smart guides are telling me it's evenly spaced, at least based on the text frames. So rearrange the stuff till it looks like that. And then click and drag over all three of those things because we want to scoot it all the way to the right. And then we're going to click and start moving to the right. And smart guides aren't really helping me right now, so I am going to hold on the shift key so I don't accidentally move it up and down, but just directly to the right. And when it lines up, let go. Let go of the mouse and then the shift key. Are we all here? Does ours all look like this? Or close to it? I'm going to do one little fussy thing. I'm going to hit the Z key to switch quickly to my zoom tool so I can zoom in really closely right here. And while this looks okay right now, the fact that it's left aligned is actually a bit of a problem because I want my page numbers on the right side to align with this rule right here. So I'm going to get my type tool. I'm going to click in that box. I don't need to select it. Select the page number marker. Just click in there and change it to align right. And then I'm going to switch back to my selection tool just for fun. The keyboard shortcut, and the keyboard shortcut for preview mode is a little dangerous because it's just the letter W. If you're in a text frame though, you're not going to switch to preview mode, you're just going to type a W inside the text frame. So make sure that you want to be really sure, click on your pasteboard, deselect everything. I'm going to hit the W key, and when I do that and all my frame edges are hidden, I notice that it's actually not aligned with the right edge of this rule. So I'm going to select all three of those things and just use the cursor key to scoot it over. I just had to do one tap on the right cursor key to get it to scoot over. But now it's lined up. Are we all here? Okay.